You wake up this morning and there's a 200-page document that we can't seem to get that says that there should be a restriction on AI chips for all but 18 countries. You've got the premier CEO of AI, Jensen Huang, going around the world talking about sovereign AI. And then you have a document, again, it's a proposal, that just basically says, look, there's only 18 countries that should be able to get this. That's going to send the whole complex down. It is absurd in the sense that no one spoke to it. They didn't give it to any CEO to even comment on. It is the last gasp of an administration that basically threw a grenade into the whole complex.
Yeah, although very much unclear, isn't it, Jim, that a lot of it won't be reversed potentially under the new administration or different.
I suspect all of it will be.
Yeah, although it is potentially tough on China. I mean, a lot of it is designed, obviously, around our defense, so to speak, in the larger context, given the threats that AI could pose in the wrong hands and the fact that we always want to be ahead in our development from any of our adversaries. I think that is right. That's at the basics of why they've done what they've done, isn't it?
Yes, but 18 friendly countries, let's say there are 120 countries that might want it. That means there's a lot of countries besides China that now get excluded. You'll see this down a lot. The stock has been very weak. I think NVIDIA is terrific. But you combine this, and then, Carl, you've got some numbers that say that Apple's going to be weaker.
Value's been better outside of the USA. It's been better if you didn't take an industry bet. And it's been better if you didn't short a ton of NVIDIA. So if value holds its own when it's not having a great time and everything else we do works, that can be a beautiful thing.
Does NVIDIA enter your portfolio at all in the quant process?
It enters as a potential stock to own or short, and this will give you some insight into quantitative management. I don't know if we're long or short.
Right, because there's just so many positions at all times?
So many positions that are all small. So I often joke, though this hardly ever happens, that the only time I know about an individual position is either something very bad has happened.
Or very good.
No, they don't even bother me with that. Or I'm going on TV and sometimes I cheat and look up. But I didn't look up in NVIDIA. I would guess it looks expensive, but looks pretty high quality.
53 times earnings or so.
Yeah, but that's not the whole process. For instance, profitability, how much money you make. How much money you make given the size of your equity or some other scalar that you can make it relevant. We love that. In true bubbles, people often hate low prices and don't care about profitability because they're only paying for dreams of future profitability. So we don't enjoy those. But a year where the really cheap multiple stuff doesn't do well, but really profitable stuff does great, that can be a great year for us.
Not necessarily a bubble. I was going to ask.
Let's send it to Christina Partsinevelos now for a look at NVIDIA. That stock is falling in today's session, as we said at the very outset today, Christina.
Well, you have the company's powerhouse customers. We're talking Microsoft, AWS, Google, and Meta. They're reportedly hitting some snags with NVIDIA's latest Blackwell chips. They're dealing with overheating issues and glitches, and the information is reporting some might actually scale back their orders. Not great timing when these cloud giants are also racing to build their own AI supercomputers. HSBC just weighed in about a warning about supply challenges. They're saying these issues could drag on through early 2026, and they're skeptical about NVIDIA keeping up its impressive streak of beating revenue forecasts by $2 billion each quarter, which brings up the question of sustainability. And then there's another twist. Remember those new Biden administration rules about exporting AI chips? Well, analysts at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Wedbush, they all think it might not actually stick. And here's why. There's an unusually long 120-day comment period, which means if Trump, once his administration goes forward, they could potentially revise these restrictions. Right now, about 15% of NVIDIA's total revenue is exposed to China, but that portion has declined just over the last few quarters. Yes, it's a little bit higher compared to Q2, but they have said it's declining. So between those technical hiccups, the supply chain constraints, and regulatory uncertainty, NVIDIA's definitely got quite a few balls in the air right now, and that's why the stock is down 2.5%.
Welcome back to Overtime. We got some news on NVIDIA. The European Union commenting on the Biden administration's further restriction of AI chip exports, news that hit NVIDIA shares in the regular session and that NVIDIA itself blasted earlier today. The EU saying in a joint statement, in part, "We are concerned about the U.S. measures," adding, "We believe it is also in the U.S. economic and security interest that the EU buys advanced AI chips from the U.S. without limitations." The statement adds that the EU has shared its concerns with the Biden administration and looks forward to engaging constructively with the incoming Trump administration.
Worse, the U.S. government chose to meddle in the semiconductor world in a way that defeats so much of what Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is trying to accomplish. A series of restrictions came out this weekend that put limits on the number of GPUs NVIDIA can sell to all but 18 friendly nations. I mean, look, we all get the game. We're trying to stop China from getting as many advanced chips as possible. I admit that. That's okay. But this 200-page set of rules has become the hallmark of the Biden administration's attempt to treat our businesses as the enemy. NVIDIA is cooperating with the federal government every step of the way. Jensen Huang has spent a huge amount of time going around the globe, though, trying to work with all of the friendly governments, not just 18, to help them create sovereign AI. He knows that America could control everything. That's how powerful we are. But he wants to empower other nations so they don't get subsumed by us. He doesn't want to be the ugly American who dictates the things the way we did during the Cold War. It's one of the best initiatives he's worked on, and now the government's effectively ended it by fiat. Look, you know that I'm no fan of the Chinese government, but the U.S. needs friends. Huang is the ultimate ambassador of goodwill. This move is embarrassing, short-sighted, demeaning, and ultimately a fitting coda to an administration that seems to have it in for business at every turn, unless it's clean energy, of course.
All right, I hope you're all doing great today and staying calm in this market. The S&P finished the day slightly positive after it opened lower this morning, and NVIDIA finished the day about 2% lower. The negative price action we saw early in today's trading session was due to multiple factors. Yields moved noticeably higher this morning, causing market participants to worry about rates and sending stocks lower. Additionally, we had negative company-specific news for each of the S&P's top 3 holdings: Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. Last week, we started seeing reports that Apple's China sales were coming under pressure. Additionally, Apple has been receiving scrutiny in both the UK and EU. Reuters reported that ARM is planning to hike prices by as much as 300%, which would be bad news for both Apple and Microsoft. And NVIDIA had multiple news events today as well. Last week, Bloomberg reported that the Biden administration was considering new harsh export controls on AI chips, and today that news turned out to be true. Additionally, The Information published an article claiming that some of NVIDIA's clients are facing delays due to glitchy AI racks. I have no idea if this story is true or not. I'm just bringing it to your attention so that you're aware of it. And then multiple analysts lowered their NVIDIA price targets today as well. All of these factors weighed down on Apple, Microsoft, and NVIDIA today, and by extension weighed down on the entire market. Going back to NVIDIA, the company published a scathing press release in response to the newly unveiled export restrictions, saying that the new rule, quote, threatens to squander America's hard-won technological advantage. The rule is not yet in effect, as there is a 120-day comment period. I'll be completely honest with you. I seriously think that this new rule, or at least most of the rule, is likely to be rolled back by the incoming administration. In the short term, though, this whole situation is causing some volatility. Looking ahead, we have NVIDIA earnings on February 26th, and NVIDIA's GTC scheduled from March 17th through the 21st. While there was a pre-anticipatory run-up in NVIDIA stock ahead of CES, CES was geared mainly toward consumers, not data centers, which is where NVIDIA makes most of its revenue. With this in mind, NVIDIA's GTC is likely to be more of a market-moving event than CES because GTC is likely to focus more on the data center than CES did. GTC is where we're more likely to learn more about Rubin and possibly even the next generation after Rubin. In the short term, I have no idea what to expect because anything could happen. But from a long-term perspective, I still think NVIDIA's brightest days are ahead. As long as everything remains peaceful in the Pacific, and as long as none of the hyperscalers significantly reduce their capex, then I think NVIDIA should be just fine for at least the next 1 to 2 years. And I'm especially optimistic about NVIDIA over the first half of this year as Blackwell ramps in volume. At least that's my view on the situation. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.